Hanhagis HaKadosh Baruch Hu besod noira alila. Right? Kadosh Baruch Hu's running of the world according to the sod of a concept called Nora Alila, which means literally awesome, and Alila's pretext, right? Alila's dam is a blood libel. The word Alila is like a pretext for something. And we'll have to see what that means. But he starts off by saying the following thing, okay? He says, "Arei nizbar lanu mikol hanizkar ki kol ha'amuros hanaros she'avru aleinu mi'es hiyosenu l'am ad kol." All the events that have happened to the Jewish people ever since we became a nation until today, hinehu hakol b'sibas olam hatohu. It's all a function of what we call the world of tohu. Most people only know the word tohu from the second verse of Ma'aseh Bereshis. So not to be confused with tofu. It's not the same thing. Okay? But the verse just mentions it in passing. We understand it to be like an intermediary stage of creating. God made the earth. It was like, it was like you make a cake. You take all the ingredients out, and you make a little, fill up the bowl. There's a mess. There's flour over the place, right? It's all part of the process of baking something. Eventually, you get a cake, and you put everything away, clean it up. So Ma'aseh Bereshis is the end product, and a step along the way was Olam Hatohu. Why did Hashem have to make it that way? Why didn't Kadosh Baruch Hu simply say, "World be"? And the world was exactly the way it's supposed to be, perfect, Gan Eden, the whole thing. Why must Hashem have gone through this process of making a mess for us? We have no choice. It's the way we work. If we want to build something, construct something, we make a mess first. We want to bake something, we make a mess first. Because we're limited in how we function inside the physical world. Kadosh Baruch Hu just has to will something. He can will the final product, and the final product is this. Just like that. He didn't do it that way. Why not? So the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos talks about how he used 10 statements to make us understand that this world is valuable to him. He put whatever into it, and therefore we have to mekayim it and take it seriously. That when we do the mitzvahs, we're mekayim a world that was made with 10 statements. If we do averos chas v'chalila, we destroy a world that was made with 10 statements. Hashem could have easily done it in one statement, but for us, he used 10 statements. So same thing by Tohu. Kadosh Baruch Hu used Tohu also as a way as a preparatory stage along the way to make Ma'aseh Bereshis. Okay, why? That we have to see. In Kabbalah, it's a very huge inyan. The whole concept of Tohu is a very important part of understanding why history is the way it is and how it functions. By the way, all the bad in history, all the wars, all the sina, all the confusion, anything that's negative in history is a function of Tohu. The breaking of the luchos, the breaking of the tablets, is a function of Tohu. When evil exists or rears its head or does its thing, it's a function of Tohu. Tohu is the basis of all that goes wrong in creation. And you need that for free will. The Holocaust, major. And you see, war is Tohu, war is chaos. It's chaotic, right? So that's what he says. It's all a function of Tohu. V'hayamuchen v'chakuk mi'az es kol ha'maseh asher naseh al ha'aretz ve'ein kol chadash tachas ha'shemesh. It was established back at the beginning, at that stage of history. Whatever is going to happen in history has already been engraved in history, so to speak. There's nothing new under the sun. It was all put in potential back then, like Rashi and the Ramban explain. It's all muchanim me'olam asher yam lefneinu v'naseh kol davar be'itov esmano. Al pi oso zman ve'etz asher huchan lo. So in other words, history is not randomly unfolding. All the potential was built into Ma'aseh Bereshis way back at the beginning, and then it comes out like a time capsule. It comes out at the moment in time. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Now's the time for this thing. Now's the time for this person. This thing should happen now." As part of the process, the ongoing process to get to the fulfillment of the purpose of creation, according to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's master plan. So we don't see it coming. We look at the world. We can't see who's coming up next. We can't see which leader will run the world next. We can't see which events will for sure happen necessarily, right? But it's already been built into creation. So as history unfolds for us, because we're not prophets, we don't know all. Kabbalah maybe knows differently. Depends how much you know and how much Ruach HaKodesh you have. But as for us, most of the time, things just seem to unfold. This car accident, God forbid, this bus breaking down, or this God forbid, this person got sick and they died, or they got better instead. It's all been written in the book back at the beginning of history. Of course, this brings up the discussion of free will and what it is and where it comes from and all that, but that's not the point right now. The point right now is just that everything in history has all been pretty much established in potential back at the beginning of history, and history is just a function of it and the playing out of that script. The Amru, right? But Midrash Rabbah in Koheles Rabbah, it says in the Midrash, Zman haya lo la Adam Arishon shechanes leGan Eden v'chulu. The Midrash says if it's a time for Adam Arishon specifically to go into the Garden of Eden, v'zman haya lo shiyatzei misham. Also, it was a time for him to leave. Now, the way that we look at that is like he could have been there forever. He wasn't supposed to leave. He's supposed to follow Kodesh Baruch Hu's commandments, do what he was told to do, and then he would stay there forever and enjoy paradise. Instead, what happens? He does a chet, and he's forced to leave the Garden of Eden. Pito, whatever reason, there's a judgment, and it wasn't planned. No, it was planned. The Medrash is saying that the moment he left Garden Eden, that was chakuk in creation, going back to Od Tohu. This is not what we're used to, and this provides a much deeper look into how history operates that Mekubalim understand, and we have to understand, because otherwise we can't make sense of what's going on around us and how to respond to it. That's what he's building to. That's what he's building to. Zman hayah Noach shechanes lateva, right? There was a time for Noach to go into the ark. Zman hayah lo, let's say, so there was a time for him to leave the ark. Zman hayah Avram shenatan lamila. There's a time for Avram to receive Mila, to do Bris Mila. Zman hayah labanav yishmila b'shnim okamas. Also later on in the desert, in Yeshua's time, to do Mila again, a second time, and to fulfill this mitzvah. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now, because it goes through a whole list of all the events of history and how this happened then, and he shows how the Medrash is telling us that these things were meant to happen. Everything was meant to happen. There's nothing that accident, nothing random, nothing just peeped on because this happened, therefore this has to happen. It was all unfolding ever since the beginning of history, Ma'aseh Bereshis. So then he goes on to say, okay, he goes on to bring a different Medrash, or really the continuation. Kol misha kasu b'hayem etukan lakach. Everybody who ever came into history was meant for that thing. Mordechai was meant to be Mordechai. Moshe was meant to be Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? We come into this world, and even though it seems like we just happen to choose what we choose to do, right? The reality is that we are custom made for these particular things, and the events bring it out in us. Pinchas in the Chumash was meant to be a kanoi, a zealot. Since he was young, since he was born, it's part of his soul. Cosby and Zimri, right? They actualized his potential by drawing him into the situation to do what he did. You see this in life all the time, right? You're minding your own business, and you're doing your own thing, and things happen around you that pull you in or repel you, either or, because of who you are, because of what you've become. You had no choice in the matter. You just became what you became. And therefore you either play this role or that role. And it's imposed upon us to a large degree. So he says, Al derech mashu Bereshis Rabbah, Hein adam hayamatukan lamisa. Man was meant to die. Nachash hayamatukan, the snake was made for punishment. So what he did, if only he had not convinced them that he wouldn't have had no. He was made to be this way. He was made to be a vehicle. Elsewhere, the Lashon explains how the Nachash itself specifically was meant to be a vehicle for the Sitra Achra, to be used to cause people to sin. Okay? Kain was meant for exile. It just didn't pitom happen. He was meant for exile. And he was set aside for Yisurim. He goes to the whole list all the way to the end. Then he brings down over here. This is the part that really driving at. Okay? But Tanchuma, Medrash Tanchuma, Parshas V'Yeshev, Pasach V'Yosef Hurad Mitzrayim. Right? That Yosef went down to Egypt. He was brought down to Egypt. On that pasuk, the Medrash says the following thing: Zeh Shemar Kasuf Tehillim Samach Vav, chapter 66, and pasuk Hey, Lechu V'Ra'u Mifalos Elokim Ner Alil Al Bnei Adam. Go and see the works of Hashem how they are awesome and pretext, regarding man. There's a pasuk from Tehillim. Like the proper word shtick. God does things in a way that entangles man in history and causes him to do certain things, and he thinks he's making free will choices, and I guess he is. I mean, he has to be, because we're held responsible for it, right? But at the end of the day, we'll see what that means. Because what is it over here? Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, Af hanayrish she'ata mevi aleinu. Even the awesome things that the Kodesh Baruch Hu brings upon us, but alilu es mivim. He brings about alillus. Like it comes in a tricky way, kind of like a murky, cloudy, tricky way. Ba v'ra'eh keshebar Kodesh Baruch Hu es olam. Because take a look at this example. Okay, when God made the world, miyam harishon baram malach hamavis, from the first day, Kodesh Baruch Hu already made the malach hamavis. The Medrash tells us what God was doing. The Gemara tells us what God was doing. Well, actually, it's a Medrash that tells us what was going on day after day in the first 6 days of creation, and it says that the malach hamavis is made early, long before man existed. It's a lamar shehuchad miyam rishon, from the very first day of creation. The malach hamavis is already existing and ready to do his thing, to bring death into the world. Aval briyaso yebiyam sheni, but he wasn't actually created until the second day. The potential for the malach hamavis was the first day, but his actual creation wasn't until Yom Sheni, which is the day of Din, because it corresponds to the sphere of Gvura, which is Din, so that's where the water was also split in that day, right? Because it refers to the concept of Din. Ayin le'el, okay, says Menayin, right? Where do we know this? Amar Rebbe Becharia, or Barachia, actually, Meshum shenemar v'choshech al pnei tehom, because the pasuk says that there was water upon the face of the deep. Ze malach hamavis. What's the darkness? That's the malach hamavis. Hamachshich pneim shabris, because he darkens the face of creations. Okay, the Adam nivra b'shishi, but man was made the 6th day, 4-day difference. The alila nitla bo, and through trickery, death was hung on man. The malach hamavis, in a sense, was man's creation, so to speak. Why? Because man brought death into the world. God said to man, on the day you eat from this tree, surely you shall die. Until that point in time, no one died. Not even surely.
This was already created, though.
Exactly, but he wasn't functioning. He was inoperative. There's no death in the world. There's no one to bring death to. He was just waiting to do his job, but there was no job to do yet. When man sinned and ate from the hada'as to varas, and now he could cause death to man from that point onwards. So men activated the malach hamavis. Because the pasuk says, "On the day you shall eat, you shall surely die." So he says, what is this like? What happened with man? This whole thing, right? Let's say somebody decides he wants to divorce his wife. Okay? When he decides to go home, and he's going to carry out the act of getting divorced, okay? Give her the get. So he writes the get before he goes home. Nichnas the beso, the get yibiyado. He's got the get in his hand. He comes in the house carrying the get. But he doesn't want to just give it to her and say, "Hey, we're divorced," right? He wants to do it in a way that's kilu, she's responsible for it. Okay. Amarla, he says to her, Mazgili as a kais sheshte, prepare me something to drink. Being the good wife that she is, right? She goes ahead and she does this. Doesn't ask any questions. He wants a drink. She brings him a drink, right? Mazgalo, she makes him a drink. Kivan shenatala kos miyada, as she is passing the drink to him, right? Amarla hareze gitech. He says to her, "Oh, thanks for the drink, and here's your get." They swap. She gives the drink, he gives the get. Okay? Amra lo, she says to him, "My pishi, what did I do wrong? Right? What are you divorcing me for?" Amar lo, se'ime basi, get out of my house. Why? Shemazakt li kais pashur, because you made me a warm drink. I wanted a hot drink or a cold drink, either way, and you made it tepid. It's like, it's not the way I like my drink. Okay. Amra lo, so she's not so, she's with it, right? She says to him, Kavar hayisi yodeh shani asid labzog lecha kois pashur shechasavta get v'yosobi yadecha. Such a navi. You knew that one day I'm going to come make you warm drinks. So you had a get in your hand just in case I did. You came home, carried this get, and lo and behold, the drink's too warm for you, and now you give me your get, right? That's what's going on over here, right? Af meaning, come on. We all know the truth over here. It's a setup. It's a alillus. It's a setup. You wanted to divorce me. You wanted to make it look like it's my fault, not your fault. So therefore, you had this whole thing arranged, and you set up the situation, and now you're blaming it on me. But let's face facts. It's you who's doing all this. Okay. Now what's the nimshal? Ach, kach amar adam lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu ad shelabarasa olamecha kaidim shnei lafim shana haisa Torah slacha. Right. Okay. I ate from the Eitzah Death Ra. You're blaming death on me, but let's take a look at this thing for a second, okay? You and I, Hashem, right? Torah was with you for 2,000 years before creation ever came into existence, right? Right. Okay? So he says, Aman Shukaka is hidden by you, right? He says, Shukaka Siv, right? As the Pasuk says, V'yeh eslo amon v'yeh shashuim yom yom. Because you yourself said the Torah is by me for 2,000 years, and it was my special, toy, so to speak, 2,000 years for Kasivba, and what is it written? What's written in that Torah that you had it for 2,000 years before creation was even made? Right? Zois Teres Adam. This is the law of a person. Ki yemuz bo'el, who dies in a tent. The Torah talks about death before man's even created, before creation is even created. He says, Elula shetikanta mos labrius. If you did not establish mavis labrius, death for the creation, right? Haise kasub bakach, would you have written in the Torah? If you didn't mean death to come into the world, would you have put death in your Torah in the first place? It's not like he said, there was no death in my Torah. Oh, but now you went ahead, you brought death into the world, so now I have to accommodate that in my Torah. I have to now do a little changing around over here and put death in Torah, because you made that situation happen. No, it was already there. Now you could say Kosh Baruch Hu, he knows the past, present, and future, so he can do it. But the mashal is the mashal, okay? Ella bata litlos bi. No, I'm the scapegoat. That's the truth. Right? You wanted to bring death into the world. You put it in your Torah before I was even created, and then you gave me a situation where I could bring it to existence. Right? As a lila through pretext. Havi nor lila abanedam. This is what we call nor lila abanedam. That we find ourselves in situations that seem inevitable. We get held responsible for them, even though really it was all chakuk. Going back to life is one huge setup. One huge setup. Clear. Right? There's an iris atov, right? Because Baruch Hu says by Moshe Rabbeinu that he makes a mistake, and now Hashem says, you're not going to Eretz Yisrael. He says to Baruch Hu, he says, what have you done? What have you done? You've increased the slavery. You made it worse for the Jewish people. You questioned me? You can't go to Eretz Yisrael. Alila. He was meant not to go to Eretz Yisrael for whatever reason. Also said it. He goes to the whole thing, but then he gets down to over here, which is one of the most incredible things he says. We'll just finish up with this point right now. He says, "V'amar Rav Yudin." Rav Yudin says the following. It's all part of the Medrash. He says, "Hayah Hakadosh Baruch Hu mevakesh lakayim gezeres yadua teda ve'evi alila l'kol davar melech." Hakadosh Baruch Hu told Avram Avinu in the Bris Bein Habesarim that you should know that your children will be strangers in the land not theirs, and they will, have to go down to Mitzrayim. He doesn't mention Mitzrayim, but they'll be oppressed, and eventually I'll judge that nation. I'll take them out, the whole thing like that. That was a prophecy back in Bris Bein Habesarim that had to be fulfilled. Kabbalah explains why it had to be fulfilled, but that's the bottom line. It had to be fulfilled, right? So what did he say? In order to fulfill it, what did Hashem do? Kedei shehav Yaakov as Yosef. So therefore, he made Yaakov love Yosef more. The rest of the brothers, Yasnuhu echav, so that the brothers would hate him. Nimchru leYishmaelim, and sell him to the Arabs. V'yaduhu leMisraim, and bring him down to Egypt. Vishma Yaakov Sheyosef Chai Mitzrayim. Eventually, in Parashat Vayikash, it says that Yaakov heard that Yosef was alive in Mitzrayim. But Yerat, Ima Shvatim Yishavdu Sham. And he went down to Mitzrayim, and we became oppressed there to fulfill the prophecy. One of the big questions we have, the Gemara says that a father should not give one child more than the other children because it creates jealousy. Because of $2 of clothing, our ancestors went down to Mitzrayim. As the Gemara says, learns it from Yaakov and Yosef, the whole thing. Yaakov was a prophet. He didn't know parenting 101. He didn't understand that you cause others to hate your child. In the end, you have the children and jealousy, and all this is going to happen as a result of it. He didn't know. Of course, he knew this, but it was imposed upon him. And we see by Yehuda and Tamar the same thing. Yehuda gets involved with Tamar. The Gemara says that Kadosh Baruch Hu arranged it. He pushed it into it in the end. So, very important concept, alillus. We have to see how it plays out in history because it raises huge questions. It goes against the flow. And what people would like to believe about Jewish history and how Kadosh Baruch Hu works, it raises issues regarding Bechira, all these things like that. But the most important thing of all, that's the way it works. And we need to understand why.